Mine, Countermeasures Squadron 3, arriving. Parade the colors.
What time? March. Okay. Oh. Left face.
Ladies and gentlemen, the national anthem. Post the colors.
Right face. On.
Chaplain Walker will now deliver the invocation.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, as we're gathered here this morning to celebrate the career of Commander Lowander, we collectively ask for your continued protection over he and Lisa and their 2 sons. After all the years of guidance and protection you have offered to the Lowander family, we pray with them as they venture into this new chapter in life, one of uncertainty, filled with new types of struggles and fresh opportunities. Just as you changed the weather from the blowing rains of late, we are reminded that you truly are in control. Let even a simple change of weather be a reminder to them that when in the future those struggles occasionally rise, encourage them to focus on you and trust in you as you have been asked to do so many times. Now as the Lowander family makes the transition to civilian life, we ask you, God, to give them the wisdom, foresight, and leadership required of them. And above all, offer them rest when they need it most after so many years of service to our nation. We ask now, Lord, that you bless the remainder of this ceremony and this morning's festivities to follow. In your precious name, amen.
Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Side boys, post. Good afternoon, and welcome to Lieutenant Commander Bengt Lowander's retirement. We are gathered here this morning to witness the final stage in a full and productive 27-year naval career, and to say thank you and farewell to a great shipmate. To thank him for his many years of dedicated service and his contributions, which in their own unique way have made our Navy a stronger and more capable force. And finally, to thank him for being the type of leader that ensured the next generation of officers are ready to meet the challenges of tomorrow. I am honored to be part of Lowander's retirement ceremony. Lieutenant Commander Bengt Lowander was born in Port Jefferson, New York, and was raised on a farm in Missouri prior to enlisting in the Navy. He was shipped out to boot camp in Orlando, Florida on January 28, 1988, to begin the start of his illustrious naval career. After departing boot camp, Bengt graduated from the Navy Nuclear Power Program and attended prototype in Idaho Falls, Idaho on the S-1W reactor, and he progressed from fireman to petty officer first class. His subsequent enlisted tours included USS Newport News, SSN 750, Naval Submarine Support Facility New London, and USS Patriot, MCM 7. He served 13 years as an electrician's mate before being selected for commissioning through the limited duty LDO program in July 2001. Bengt completed LDO indoctrination in Pensacola, Florida. His LDO tours from the rank of ensign to lieutenant included USS Portland, LSD 37, as the auxiliary officer and main propulsion assistant, USS Seattle, AOE 3, as the auxiliary officer and electrical officer, ATG Ingleside as project officer and chief engineer, USS Ramage, DDG 61, as the main propulsion assistant and chief engineer, and Surface Warfare Officer School as a diesel lead instructor. While stationed at SWAS, Bengt laterally transferred official designation from engineering LDO to Surface Warfare Officer, and then commenced the SWO Department Head training course. Upon completion of Department Head School, Bengt was promoted to Lieutenant Commander. Lieutenant Commander's SWO tours were as Chief Engineer of MCM Crew Exultant, serving in USS Chief, MCM 14, USS Dexterous, MCM 13, and USS Scout, MCM 8. After his initial Department Head tour, he was hand-selected to serve as the Material Readiness Officer, N43, for Mine Countermeasure Squadron 3, responsible for 3rd and 5th Fleet minesweepers, and acting as the class advocate for all minesweepers in regards to engineering issues. This would be Bengt's final tour of the Navy. And after completing over 27 years of honorable military service, he has received orders to retire on May 1st, 2015. Just as this is the end of one phase in his life, it is the beginning of another. So our gathering today also gives us the opportunity to wish him success in the future as he looks forward to new challenges and rewards. I would like to extend an especially warm welcome to Bengt's wife, Lisa, his sons, Davin and Hagen, his stepfather, Frank James Jr., and his stepbrother, Frank James III. I know that Bengt's family, more than any of us, is vividly aware of the sacrifices that he has made in the service to our country, and the sacrifices you have made for him throughout his service. And I speak for the entire command when I say how pleased we are to have you here. The practice of saying goodbye to a fellow shipmate has been around as long as men have been going to sea on ships. Traditionally, the bosun's pipe or ship's bell was used to bring a ship's company on deck to say farewell to ship's officers or non-commissioned members of the crew who have served with great distinction. All hands on deck was passed. Speeches were made about great victories, battles fought upon the open sea, raging storms weathered, and voyages to distant and strange lands with ports of call others only dreamed about. Over the years, much of this pomp and pageantry has been relegated to the pages of history, but today we are gathered to continue on in the spirit of this most honored tradition. Today we shall pipe ashore for the last time, our friend and shipmate, Lieutenant Commander Bengt Lowander. Presiding over today's ceremony will be Captain Edmund Hernandez, Commander, Mine Countermeasure Squadron 3. He graduated from the University of California at Los Angeles with a bachelor's degree in economics and was commissioned through the Naval Reserve Officer Training Program in 1989. He has commanded the minesweeper USS Patriot, MCM 7, forward deployed in Sasebo, Japan, and a guided missile destroyer USS Milius, DDG 69, home ported in San Diego, California. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce Captain Edmund Hernandez, Commander, Mine Countermeasure Squadron 3.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here today. I want to acknowledge Bengt's wife, again, Lisa, and his two sons, Davin and Hagen. It's a big day for all of you. I want to thank you on behalf of the United States Navy for supporting your husband and father over these many years of his naval service. Thank you very much. I also want to acknowledge Mr. Frank James Jr., Bengt's father, his stepbrother, Frank III, and his wife, Susan. Thank you all for being here and being part of Bengt's life and supporting him as an early part of his career. I also want to acknowledge Dave and Kathy Petrovsky from Connecticut, flew all the way out. Had a little bit of an adventure, came out here to San Diego. It snowed in a couple of places on the way over, but finally made it. They got in at midnight last night. So thank you for being here, for being able to spending time to share this special occasion with us. I am honored and humbled to speak at Bengt's ceremony today because I commissioned him back in 2001. A retirement ceremony is a bittersweet moment. It is in this moment you part ways with your old self and are transformed into a different being. It will happen before your very eyes this morning, and it's almost too fast. You aren't quite the same civilian you were when you entered the service. You are much older and wiser and have the life experience of a sailor who went to sea. You are a different person. In this case, the Navy's losing one of its best engineers and a great officer, but he's going to move on to even greater accomplishments in his life. The Navy will just have to deal with it. The very best of America seeks to achieve and succeed in the face of adversity. In the ideal, we strive to be more than just common. The very best parts of us take on the toughest jobs and conquer them. This is the theme of Bengt Lowander's naval career that has followed him from day one. I've always said America is about opportunities. This is a country where people are seeking to break into and not trying to escape from. America remains the land of opportunity where if you apply yourself, you can achieve great things. Take advantage of the opportunities and you can be very successful. Bengt Lowander took advantage of the opportunities and he excelled. Bengt is a great American. I don't say that lightly, and I should explain. What is greatness? What is a great person? A great person is one who's outstandingly superior or skillful. Great persons possess a natural ability to be better than all others. I believe Bengt was that person. In Tom Brokaw's book, The Greatest Generation, the men and women who came of age during the Great Depression and left their homes to answer the call to save the world from the two most powerful and ruthless military machines ever assembled, faced great odds and a late start, but did not protest. This generation of Americans represented the very best of us and are the exemplars we should all aspire to become. Bengt is a throwback of that type of American. If it weren't for his age, he could be easily mistaken for being a member of that generation. He is a doer, a worker, the type of person that created and built America's reputation of can-do spirit and getting things done. Finding a solution and getting results were his modus operandi. I can only cover a few of his professional accomplishments, and his true accomplishments cannot be adequately captured by anything I say in my allotted time. Bengt's beginnings were truly humble enough. He grew up on a farm in Missouri. He joined the Navy in 1988 and entered the submarine force, serving in USS Newport News. As an enlisted man, he also served on USS Patriot, MCM-7 in Sasebo, Japan. I was the commanding officer for part of his tour in Patriot. He was one of my human wrenches. He knew how to fix gear and keep it running. Literally, a human wrench. You get down there and fix stuff. It was exciting. This was a successful ship that made every mission and is awarded multiple battle efficiency awards because of men like Bengt. During his tour, he was selected to the LCDR program, and I had the honor to commission him at his ceremony in July 2001. He went on to serve his engineering tours in Portland, Seattle, Ramage, Chief, Dexterous, and Scout. All successful tours. He did that all before serving on my staff, on my current staff, and so not only was I the benefactor of 25 plus years of engineering experience before reporting, I was a two-time benefactor, having been his commanding officer twice now. For most people, having me as their commanding officer once would be enough. Not for Bengt. When he reported on board, I knew we could not fail. He took his engineering skills and applied them across the force. He made a difference in everything he touched. He mentored chief engineers, main propulsion assistants, and young engineering division officers. His knowledge and advice were highly desired and sought out. The operational availability of our ships in Bahrain are at record levels. Minesweepers getting underway are commonplace. This is due in part to the initiatives he started with the Asada Francesi engines and the gas turbine generators to ensure their longevity. His work ensured that the Avenger-class Minesweeper will not only reach the end of its service life, but do so as a highly effective weapon system. Bengt's accomplishments at MCM Round 3 go on and on. But to only focus on his contributions in the readiness of my ships does not reflect the totality of Bengt's contribution to our Navy over his 27-year career. This is the part that goes unwritten. Bengt did his job day in and day out like the professional at sea he was and is. What's not written down anywhere is that he helped each of his commanding officers make the mission they were tasked to do. He selflessly and repeatedly ensured his ships were ready to answer all bells. That is the highest standard any engineer in the Navy can obtain and are among Benkt's greatest achievements for the United States Navy. He was always ready to answer all bells. I will tell you those words are powerful and have great meaning to a ship captain. Bengt did that every time. Bengt is that man we give a mission to and know that the job will be done right first time, every time. Thank God America produces such individuals. That is the reason we will never be conquered by anyone else on the face of the earth. On behalf of all your previous commanding officers, Bengt, I want to thank you for helping us make the mission and get the job done. You will be missed. I wish you continued success and good fortune in the years to come. May God bless you and your family, and God bless America.
Thank you, Captain Hernandez. Lieutenant Squartino, please escort Lisa, Davin, and Hagen to the stage. Commodore Hernandez will now present Lieutenant Commander Lowander's family with certificates of appreciation. Certificate of appreciation from the United States Navy. To all who shall see these presents, greetings. Lisa, Hagen, and Davin Lowander, today after completing over 27 years of active naval service, your husband and father has ended a career of honorable and faithful service to his country, and his efforts are sincerely appreciated. Such a rich and rewarding career reflects a strong commitment to the principles of freedom and democracy, and the belief that they must be upheld at any cost. That type of total commitment is not possible without the full support of the entire family. Although you may have never had to carry out a military order or deploy into hostile waters, your loyalty and steadfast support of your husband's and father's career can rightly be viewed as a service to your country. While loyalty and dedication are significant courses of strength for your husband and father during arduous duty, and exemplify the highest traditions of patriotism. On behalf of a grateful nation, the Department of the Navy, and the officers and enlisted staff at Mine Countermeasure Squadron 3, I extend you a sincere thanks and appreciation for a job well done. Given the 5th day of March, 2015, Edmund B. Hernandez, Captain, United States Navy. Will now present Lieutenant Commander Bengt Lowander's End of Tour Award, Certificate of Appreciation, and Retirement Certificate. Active duty personnel, attention to award. The President of the United States takes pleasure in presenting the Meritorious Service Medal to Lieutenant Commander Bengt G. Lowander, United States Navy. For outstanding meritorious service as MCM Class Advocate Material and Maintenance Officer on the staff of Mine Countermeasure Squadron 3 from October 2013 to May 2015. Displaying brilliant engineering expertise, inspiring leadership, and unmatched foresight, he expertly managed material readiness for 13 Mine Countermeasure Squadron ships in 3rd, 5th, and 7th Fleets. During his tour, his visionary approach to solving class-wide systematic issues, strict adherence to maintenance processes and procedures, and his keen ability to effectively manage sustainment requirements laid the foundation for over $22 million in ship authorizations and modernizations, and the rapid correction of hundreds of casualty reports, resulting in the highest level of operational availability and support of combatant commander requirements. His meticulous and detailed approach to material readiness ensured the preparation and successful execution of 4 Mine Countermeasure 1 class material inspections by the Board of Inspection and Survey, leaving a lasting positive impact on operational readiness. His personal drive and vision were critical in the completion of 4 CNO availabilities and 5 training and certification cycles, which charted the path for MCM permanent crewing. Additionally, he was the key staff officer in the execution of 4 MCM heavy lift deployments, providing on-scene oversight in the rapid reactivation of all 4 ships in less than 14 days and subsequently highly successful sea trials. His outstanding performance during this tour highlights the culmination of 27 years of honorable and dedicated naval service. By his exceptional professionalism, personal initiative, and loyal devotion to duty, Lieutenant Commander Lowander reflected great credit upon himself and upheld the highest traditions of the United States Naval Service. For the President, Thomas Rowden, Vice Admiral, United States Navy, Commander, Naval Surface Force, United States Pacific Fleet.
There you go.
Please be seated. Commodore Hernandez will now present a certificate for the Commander-in-Chief, President Barack Obama. It reads as follows. Certificate of Appreciation for Service in the Armed Forces of the United States of America. Lieutenant Commander Bengt Lowander. I extend to you my personal thanks and the sincere appreciation of a grateful nation for your contribution of honorable service to our country. You have helped maintain the security of the nation during a critical time in its history with a devotion to duty and a spirit of sacrifice in keeping with the proud traditions of military service. Your commitment and dedication have been an inspiration for those who will follow in your footsteps. For all Americans who join me today in saluting you for a job extremely well done. My best wishes to you for happiness and success in the future. Barack Obama, Commander-in-Chief. Commodore Hernandez will now present Lieutenant Commander Lowander's Certificate of Retirement. Certificate of Retirement from the Armed Forces of the United States of America. To all who shall see these presents greeting, this is to certify that Lieutenant Commander Bengt Lowander, having served faithfully and honorably, was retired from the United States Navy on the first day of May, 2015. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my personal honor to introduce Lieutenant Commander Bengt Lowander, United States Navy.
All right, thank you. I've been working on this speech for roughly 27 years, so everybody should get comfortable. It's going to be here a while. Yeah, we got time. Just kidding. I'm actually really looking forward to the food and the reception that Harley's wife, Lynn, is providing over there at the Admiralty, so I'll make this fairly quick. Normally when I give a speech or a presentation of some sort, and some of you in the audience can attest to this, I would typically kind of just wing it. I get a good notion of what I want to say, and things kind of roll, and it always turns out pretty spectacular. But this time, when I was coming on to this very situation, I was thinking about what I was going to say at this time as I was driving to and from work, and I'd go over these random thoughts in my head and things I would say, and I always went off on tangents. And it usually turned into great things about myself and my sea stories, because I am the most important thing to talk about to me, kind of a selfish guy. At least you can attest to that. But this time is different. As this day drew closer, I contemplated the speech and things I wanted to say, so I decided I better write it down. I'd like to start by thanking the squadron, Commodore, for taking the time and effort to grant me the honor of this ceremony. You really made this occasion very special. I'd like to welcome my good friends from Connecticut, the Petrosky family. All right, there you are. Dave, Kathy, and their great kids. They spent the last couple of days in frozen airports to be here. The kids will be happy to know that they're getting a snow day in Connecticut, so they're not missing any school time today. But I know that they also aren't missing shoveling any snow. The below zero temperatures too much. Dave and Kathy are super people who provided support to Lisa and my family when I was away. They're the greatest friends one could ever have. Thank you very much. This brings me to all the other friends, shipmates, colleagues, classmates, co-workers, took time out of their busy schedules to attend this austere event. I don't think this auditorium has ever held an assemblage of people more talented, more capable, and amazing. Thank you for sharing this occasion with me and my family. Like the program says, I joined the Navy in January 1988, made up my mind to join the Navy 11 months earlier, and entered the delayed entry program just like my brother did before me. I graduated high school a semester early, and I was scheduled to ship out in April, so I expected to work with my family and my dad on the folks' farm for a few months before going out to boot camp. One night the recruiter called me while I was cleaning up the milk barn, and he said, "Are you ready to go?" And I said, "When?" "Thursday." He was calling on a Tuesday, so this was seriously short notice. And I said I had to discuss it with my parents first and let them know what I was going to do. So I got done cleaning up the barn and went into the house and told my folks, and they absolutely freaked out. So I called the recruiter back and told him I was ready. It wasn't until I got off the phone with him that I realized I'd be heading to the MEP station on my 18th birthday. I left the only family I'd known for 18 years, and I joined the Navy, a wholly different sort of family. Navy family. That title gets thrown around often in this organization, but I think it really fits in different ways. The Navy family and a regular family both have their own common ancestry. They have a person in charge or a head of the household. Both families can teach you new things, provide discipline, give you things to do, reward you, and at times add to your aggravation. The greatest difference between a regular family and the Navy family is the potential for growth and opportunity that an organization as large as the Navy can provide. I like to think that I took full advantage of all that the Navy had to offer, and it's been quite a ride. Been around the world, walked in foreign lands, served on a wide variety of vessels above and below the sea. I've seen interesting places. I've seen waterspouts and water creatures. I've met and worked with unbelievable people in every imaginable situation, both serious and silly. I've learned complex technical skills, got a college education, broadened my perspectives, and did a few things which the Navy certainly would not want me to publicly announce or approve. These experiences allowed me to influence change, just as the Navy also changed me. And I've seen the Navy change a lot. For instance, the ponderous adaptation of using computers and claiming to go paper-free while never ditching paper. Changing uniforms from not being allowed to put anything in our pockets to bigger, deeper, expanding pockets, and being allowed to put whatever you want into them and also wear a backpack. We don't have dungaree shirts in our sea bags anymore, but I can't help calling our enlisted sailors blue shirts. Does anybody else have that problem? Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Significant change that nobody could have counted on was how the Navy inadvertently led me to my wife, Lisa, and the beginning of my own family. When I was in Groton at the submarine support facility, fixing boats, I met the love of my life, Lisa. I didn't know how much I loved her until I got orders to the Mighty Patriot and rotated to Sasebo, Japan. Back then, there was no such thing as email or FaceTime. Phone calls were expensive, so I stayed connected to her by sending letters and photos and the occasional videotape, which were ridiculous. When I couldn't stand being without her any longer, I flew back to the States, and I made her my wife and dragged her back to Japan with me. Lisa made the conscious decision to quit a very good job with a firm in Connecticut and join me on my Navy adventure. Of course, as soon as I got her to Sasebo and showed her around the base, I promptly went on deployment and left her all alone by herself in a foreign country. Of course, when the ship pulled into the first port of the deployment a week or so later, I called her to say hi, and an extremely upset woman answered the phone. Lisa was a wreck. She didn't sound good, so I told her to get on the next plane back to Connecticut. I think most women would have taken that offer, and I know on deployments sometimes guys' wives would go back to live with their families, but Lisa didn't. She stuck it out, and she did better than just sticking it out, actually. While she was surviving her first deployment as a Navy wife, she made a few good friends. She held down the fort. She got a job at the MWR Outdoor Recreation Outfitters on base. She managed our finances and even struck out on her own international travels, meeting the ship in Singapore. She did great. Lisa adjusted to Navy life really well, getting used to being alone at random intervals for unknown amounts of time. And we were doing good, so we decided it was time to expand the family. 8 months and a few weeks later, Lisa was getting very close to having our first son, Davin. The ship had to get underway for just a few days. Lisa wasn't due for a couple of weeks, so we all thought. So I got underway. Of course, as it happens to so many military families, she went into labor and delivered our son without me. Now this is where it gets a little wonderful and tragic. Back home in Connecticut, Lisa's father had been taken to the hospital, and it was that news which caused her the stress that prompted the birth of Davin. She gave birth to our son and was able to tell her family in Connecticut about this wonderful miracle while she was still in the room at the Hagashijima Ladies Clinic. And they were able to relay that good news to her father, who was in the hospital. The next day, the ship returned to port, and I raced to be by her side and meet my new son. Shortly after my arrival, the phone rang. Her dad had passed away. In that tragic, untimely twist, her devotion to me and my adventures had robbed her of that special moment of grief with her family and her last words with her father, at the same time that everybody should have been celebrating the birth of our boy. I was glad that I could be there with her as she grieved. She couldn't fly from Japan to be with her relatives because she had to care for Davin, who was much too young to risk the flight. Of course, Lisa dealt with it, and she coped with it. She did really well, and she carried on. In fact, she encouraged me to further my Navy career, despite that little hiccup, and she celebrated with me when I was selected for commission. After I got commissioned, we were transferred to Virginia. My life at home became practically non-existent. The work schedule threatened our marriage as I was giving the Navy, and not my family, more and more of my time. Lisa was pregnant with our second boy, Hagen. I was either working longer hours than I'd ever worked, or I was on deployment. When I was out on a UNITAS deployment going around South America, I left the ship a few weeks early, before the end of deployment, flying back from Puerto Rico to be with her. She was having problems, and I wanted to be with her as she gave birth to our son. True to form, I hinted to her to try to go into labor before the ship returned, because if she hadn't given birth before the ship got back, I would feel guilty for leaving the deployment early. Shortly after that incident, alone with 2 little boys, she literally had to batten down the hatches of our home and weather through a major hurricane that slammed the Tidewater area, while I got underway as a ship sorting to avoid the storm. So she weathered the storm herself. This sort of stuff is a recurring theme in this story. Lisa has figuratively been weathering the hurricane of my own career for nearly 20 years. Lisa has had to put up with so many things and compromise so much more to support my pursuits. But if you know Lisa, she does not compromise quietly. Putting the needs of the family before the needs of my actual family, I'm gonna start that one over. Putting the needs of the Navy family before the needs of my actual family has been a topic of heated discussion in our house. She'd say it's her house because I'm more of a visitor, and she's right. She actually bought the house that we were living in Virginia while I was on deployment. I didn't sign one paper. Even as I was on the few shore tours that I had the privilege of serving, I was a geo bachelor for most of the time, or traveling or working on college courses, and I was generally unavailable. So Lisa has done practically all the raising of our 2 great kids alone, and any moms in here can attest to the strain of this Herculean effort. Caring for kids is an endless effort with its share of both special moments, most of which Lisa did not get to share with me, and impromptu horrors, most of which Lisa had to resolve alone. Actually, when I did visit home on 2 separate occasions, I was at least partially responsible for the hospital visits for each boy. So my being home didn't really seem to take much of the burden off of Lisa. And she would right now put her hand on a Bible and swear that she's raising 3 boys and not 2. Lisa's been an amazing Navy wife and a superwoman. I took her out of Connecticut, in her words, a real effing state, and showed her the wonders of the world. Places like Norwood, Missouri, Norfolk, Virginia, and Ingleside, Texas, each place more awe-inspiring than the last. Not only did she join me in those places, she had to move all of our stuff too. Fact, Lisa has dealt with movers more than I have in every duty station, and she had coordinated the last move entirely and completely by herself, breaking down our entire house in Connecticut and setting up the whole house in San Diego without any help from me, as if I could help. Lisa's been running the show and encouraging me in my career every step of the way. I couldn't have enjoyed the successes of my Navy adventure if I didn't have her in my corner of the ring. She was there putting the water spigot in my mouth, wiping the sweat off my forehead, giving me advice, listening to me vent, and then pushing me back into the ring. She cheered with me when I won and rubbed my shoulders when I was hurting. She got up early and shared coffee with me when I went to work, sometimes so early it didn't seem like we'd slept. She always had dinner for me when I got home, even if she'd gone to bed hours earlier. She suffered through her own problems and the boys' problems as they arose, making plans and updating schedules better than any operations officer I've ever met. I'm sorry, Steve, it's true. Scheduling appointments, juggling prescriptions, dealing with teachers, doctors, lawyers, bankers, tenants, realtors, TRICARE operators, other mothers and sailors' wives, shoveling snow, mowing lawns. One time when she was mowing the lawn, she was 8 months pregnant and the neighbor cheered her on rather than help her out. Raking leaves, helping with braces and broken arms. Dealing with the DMV, car salesmen, car garages, and car recalls. Every utility company for every residence, not to mention all the pets and all the serious issues they had. The list of tasks and actors is enormous, and I'd never be able to remember everything, because she's done it all. Now I'm saying goodbye to the Navy family, closing the cover on that adventure once and for all. I've been honored to serve this country, and it's been an absolute privilege to serve with so many wonderful people that I'm proud to call my shipmates. I'll certainly miss it, and I'll never forget it. This adventure wouldn't be anywhere near as awesome if I didn't have you all to inspire my stories and make it so interesting. Most significantly, though, if Lisa wasn't with me, then the most important chapters of this part of my life would be empty. Thank you, Lisa, for being the best balance of everything. strong and graceful, caring and classy. Beautiful and humorous, intelligent, empathetic. Thank you for raising two handsome and smart boys. Thank you for being so patient and so understanding. You're the best thing that's happened to me. I don't have the words to describe how much you mean to me, and I can't wait to begin new adventures. I love you. Thank you.
Thank you, Bengt. Flag detail, post. I am the flag of the United States of America. My name is Old Glory. I fly atop the world's tallest buildings. I stand watch in America's halls of justice. I fly majestically over great institutions of learning. I stand guard with the greatest military power in the world. Look up and see me. I stand for peace, honor, truth, and justice. I stand for freedom. I am confident. I am arrogant. I am proud. When I am flown with my fellow banners, my head is a little higher. My colors a little truer. I bow to no one. I am recognized all over the world. I am worshipped. I am saluted. I am respected. I am revered. I am loved. I am feared. For more than 200 years, I have fought in every battle of every war. Gettysburg, Shiloh, Appomattox, San Juan Hill, the trenches of France, the Argonne Forest, Anzio, Rome, the beaches of Normandy, the jungles of Guam, Okinawa, Tarawa, Korea, Vietnam, in the heat of the Persian Gulf, and a score of other places. Long forgotten by all, but those who were there with me. I was there. I led my sailors and Marines. I followed them. I watched over them. They loved me. I was on a small hill in Iwo Jima. I was dirty, battle-worn, and tired, but my sailors and Marines cheered me. I was proud. I have been soiled, burned, torn, and trampled on streets of countries that I have helped to set free. It does not hurt, for I am invincible. I have been soiled, burned, torn, and trampled on the streets of my own country. And when it is done by those whom I have served in battle, it hurts, but I shall overcome, for I am strong. I have slipped the surly bonds of earth from my vantage point on the moon. I stand watch over the uncharted new frontiers of space. I have been the silent witness to all of America's finest hours. I have flown over the top of the World Trade Centers after September 11, 2001. I have flown over a trouble to remind the evil in our world that my spirit will not be crushed. The American people will not be broken. But my finest hour comes when I am torn into strips to be used as bandages for my wounded comrades in the field of battle. When I fly half-mast to honor my sailors and Marines. And when I lie in the trembling arms of a grieving mother at a graveside of her fallen son or daughter, I am proud. My name is Old Glory. Long may I wave, dear God. Long may I wave. Flag detail, post.
For 27 years, this sailor has stood the watch. While some of us were in our bunks at night, this sailor stood the watch. While some of us were in school, learning our trade, this sailor stood the watch. Yes, even before some of you were born into this world, this sailor stood the watch. In those years when the storm clouds of war were seen brewing on the horizon of history, this sailor stood the watch. Many times he would cast an eye ashore and see his family standing there, needing his guidance and help, needing that hand to hold during those hard times. But he still stood the watch. He stood the watch for over 27 years. He stood the watch so that our families and our fellow countrymen could sleep soundly in safety each and every night, knowing that a sailor stood the watch. Today we are here to say, Lieutenant Commander Lowander, the watch stands relieved. Relieved by those you have trained, guided, and led. Lieutenant Commander Lowander, you stand relieved. We have the watch.
Will guests please rise and remain standing until the conclusion of the ceremony. Chaplain Walker will now deliver the benediction.
Let us pray. God above, we come before your throne once again and thank you for answering our prayers this morning. We have witnessed naval tradition today, just a few thousand yards from where sailors put to sand and entered a battle in the oldest town in California. Now as traditions continue and the fellowship with laughter ensues, remind us each to take a moment and pause and reflect on the greatest of all traditions we are each a part of, that of being a patriot. In a short while, we will depart from this center of technology and representation of our nation's resolve. Let it be a challenge to excel in a vision of pride for us each. We ask now for your watchful eye over the Lowander family as they endeavor in this next chapter of their life. We ask all these things in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Side boys, post. Honor bosun, prepare to pipe the side. Our shipmate is going ashore. This order has been passed on naval ships from the 1500s through today. Spanish, French, English, Dutch. Yes, all navies of the world use the bosun call and side boys to bring aboard or send ashore ships' company officers and other important dignitaries. It is not uncommon for the commanding officer of a ship to order up the jolly boat, a crew of 8 strongbacks, side boys, and a bosun, to send an old shipmate to a shore retirement home, never to set sail on naval ships again. Today on board commissioned vessels of the United States Navy, the bosun's mate is heard piping senior officers ashore as assembled crew members act as side boys. This afternoon, we pipe Lieutenant Commander Lowander aboard for the last time, out of respect for him and his faithful service to the Navy and our great nation. Lieutenant Commander Lowander will now request permission from Commodore Hernandez to go ashore for the last time. Lieutenant Commander, United States Navy, retired, departing. Though their years together may be few, her love and devotion to her sailor is true. The pipe is sounded, and her sailor has come ashore for the last time. His watch stands relieved, and so does hers. We gratefully wish our very best to Bengt and his family for the new life they begin today. Navy family, retired, departing. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our ceremony. You're all invited to join Lieutenant Commander Lowander and his family for the reception at the Admiral Kidd building next door. Thank you very much.
Looks like it's counting. It's recording us. We look good.
Okay.
I look
You
good.
look good.
Kids look good. Give us a thumbs up, Dad. All right.
Okay.
There's Ben. And the Petrosky family. And the whole gang is not here yet because everybody's stuck in traffic. Of course. There's Greg. All right, so then to stop it,